Hello, everyone. How are you? Wow, that light is a bit aggressive. Can you guys hear me okay on the back? I can't hear you. Yes, you can hear me? Okay, good. You will have to excuse me for not speaking French. I'm sorry. The only thing that I can go is like, bonjour, ça va bien, très bien, and that's it. That's it, that's how far I go. I also, on this topic, I have a tendency to get a bit too excited. So if I have a tendency to speak too quick, if you're not doing the translation thing or whatever, stop me. Say like, you're going too fast, I can't understand you, let's do something
Will
else.
do, will do. I will do.
Oh, you wave. Where are you? I can't see you. You wave. Okay, you wave. That's good, right? And what I want to do, though, is I have got around 15 minutes, and I want to tell you some of the main reasons as to why 4 years ago I decided to stop using email at work. And I know I have got a whole bunch of colleagues in here who know me for being the email-less man, right? And so they still keep wondering after 4 years, how do I keep a job at IBM without email, right? So what I want to do is I want to do something different as well. So we're going to have a panel that talks about mobile and mobility. So I'm going to set that up of not using email in a mobility world, on a mobile world, and how do I get work done, right? Because I think that's what matters at the end of the day. Usually I have got a mind map that I use for a presentation that is available out there. I actually tweeted the link about it yesterday if you guys are interested in. I will retweet it later on as well on the hashtag for the LS Paris. But that basically explains a little bit of how I started this thing of not using email 4 years ago. And the main reasons as to why I started, there were actually 3 of them. The first one was lack of productivity, right? If I ask you guys, raise your hand if you feel that email makes you more productive today. Raise your hand, please. Wow, I can go now. This is usually the response that I have. So I don't know whether you guys have realized, but when you said that you don't feel that it's productive, right there you have identified that there is a problem with email. But let me say something here, because everyone feels that I want email dead. I've never said that. I've never written that. What I want dead is how we have consistently abused email in the corporate world, and how we still do it today, and how if we think that email has killed productivity, it's not email, it's ourselves who have killed productivity. And we have just used a corporate weapon, which is email, right? So that's the context. So why did I say that I no longer felt productive using email? Well, number of reasons. Number one is that email is the worst collaboration tool there is out there. Why? Because it's private, it's secret, it's political, it's lobbying your colleagues, it's fighting against your colleagues. Anyone here loves the CC and the BCC field? We all do, don't we? Right? Or the reply to all. Who loves the reply to all? Especially when you have got like 1,500 people and saying, well, I'm on this distribution list. Can you take me off, please? Right? And they still reply to all, right? So obviously you can imagine that was, for me, it was a serious productivity issue. And then just earlier on this morning, someone was asking me, but what is the average that you guys spend on email every day? And I said, I refer back to a study that we did a few years back, and actually, and it's probably a lot more now, but back then it was 3 hours every day we use processing email. Do you feel that that's a long time? Or do you do less? Do you do more hours than that? How many do you more than 3 hours a day on email? Quite a few of you, okay. Right, so, and then people tell me, but when I was having that conversation, they said to me, yeah, but that's work. And I said, no, that's not work. Email is not work. And I tell you why it's not work, for 2 reasons. Number one is that when you're hiding in your inbox, you're not talking to your customers. That's not work. And secondly is that when you leave, say for instance, when you leave the company, all of that work, all of that knowledge disappears like that. Forever. Forever. That's not work. Another reason. So what happens when email is down? Do you stop working? Do you stop working? Oh, you do? Wow, you're lucky. You're very lucky, because the next thing that you hear is that if people calling you, people doing instant messaging, people using all the collaborative tools to get through to you. So work basically carries on, right? So what we have done is we basically have consistently abused the idea that we consider work, email is work. It's not. It's just one tool that allows us to do one or two things well and a whole bunch of things very badly. It's not a collaborative tool because it doesn't inspire transparency. It doesn't inspire openness. And it doesn't inspire helping others, which are some of the main attributes from collaboration, right? How many of you feel that every time that you go into your email, you're fighting against someone, like your boss or your boss's boss, or someone who has escalated you because you haven't done your work, as if you didn't have anything else to do than responding to their emails, right? So the idea there obviously is that when working in such an environment where you want to promote openness, transparency, and collaboration, email doesn't cut it. And you guys are going to ask me, okay, so what does cut it then? Well, the obvious answer, which is what I'm here for, social networking tools, social software tools, right? Why do they inspire that opportunity of transparency? Because they are very open, because everyone can see everything. You can protect some knowledge if you want to, so you can have private interactions, but usually everything happens in the open. So what is the major transformation that happens out of that? Is that you introduce actually a concept that we seem to be very uncomfortable with at the moment in the corporate world, which is narrating your work. How many of you will be happy to narrate exactly what you do, the 8 hours a day that work that you do? Raise your hand. Wow, that's a very worrying thing that you guys have done just there. Because I don't know whether you have realized, you have told me two things. And this is not anything, this is not something about email. This is much more fundamental how we do business. You have told me two things when you actually didn't raise your hand in there. One, you do not trust your work because you don't want to share it. And two, you do not trust your colleagues because you don't want them to know. My advice to you, look for another job. Today. Start today. This is what I'm doing with this transformation onto the email box into social software tools. By narrating your work, you're making yourself more transparent. You're making yourself more available to other people. But you're doing something very unique as well, which is basically you're helping people understand that if you need help, you're telling them how to help them, how to be helped, right? So here, let me elaborate some more on that particular perspective. So people tell me, you know, I live in my inbox because that's how I do my work. So I keep asking them, so what do you do when you cannot do your work? I mean, let's face it, how many of you, and raise your hand again, could you do your work in your own cubicle without asking anyone anything? Raise your hand, please. Only one person. You can leave now the room, please. We don't need you here. So one out of several dozens of you. So that means that collaboration is critical now more than ever. So how can you collaborate effectively with someone if you do not know what they are doing? How can you collaborate with someone if they are hiding in their inboxes, if they need help and they don't even know where to go? How can you collaborate with someone if you cannot get them to understand that the more information they give you, the more context, the more they explain the scenario that they're struggling with, the more effective your answer is going to be? That's the transformation that I'm trying to provoke with this move away from my inbox, right? So it's not that I want email dead. No, I want to find a new way of working much more effectively, which is when we come in and I tap into the mobile world by mentioning something that is also helping change, social networking tools are helping change our landscape. For a good number of years, of decades, we have considered work a physical place. Like having your punch card, going 9 to 5, you leave 9 to 5 at the office, obviously, physical office. So after 5, you go home and you don't do anything else because that's your private life. And there's this thick, massive, 1.5 meter thick wall that says, you know, this is my work, this is my personal life, right? We have been working under that environment for decades. Now here's social networking disrupting that entire model. How does it do it? By bridging, and I'm sure that you guys are thinking, yeah, that's the work-life balance, isn't it? I said, no, there is no balance. You guys know why there's no balance between work and life? Because work always wins. Always. And if you don't believe that, you're lying to yourselves. Always wins, right? So what you need to do is you need to look for work-life integration, flexibility. Pardon? Excuse me? Any women that want to speak up and comment on that, please? Do I need to get my whip out? What? Come on, it's the 21st century. It's Women's Day today, please. Yeah. Please, a round of applause to the ladies. Yeah? This is about that, you know, that concept about work-life integration. That's what it is all about. It's also understanding that work is not a physical place anymore. Work happens wherever you are with whatever the tools that you have at your disposal. So it's no longer being sitting in front of the computer, checking your email. This is about checking out through whatever the device is. I have got here my iPhone, I have got my iPad, which is usually what I travel with, and being able to connect with the world regardless of where you are, and be able to carry out your work, right? And sometimes understand that because of work pressures, you may have deadlines where you need to work 16 hours. And believe me, you will be working 16 hours, like we all do. But there will be other times when work slows down and you may just need to work 4 hours. So one of the things that social networking tools are doing, because of that transparency, because of that openness, is they're helping us transform how we measure performance. We no longer measure performance by our sheer presence. So I want to see you every day at the office because I'm your boss, 9 to 5. And if you finish your work at 12, you're going to still be there till 5, even if you browse on the internet watching whatever you're watching, right? So we go from that mentality into one where you measure the outcomes, the deliverables, the product of what you do, right? And it doesn't matter where you are any longer. So if you no longer live in your inbox, if you no longer live in your computer, if you depend on these kind of devices to be connected to your social networks, it's useless to think that work is a physical place, right? I know that in the audience there are people who know me, and they know that I live in Gran Canaria, one of the Canary Islands, where the weather is always lovely, where there's Paradise Island, if you want to call it, right? My boss is in North Carolina, and I get to travel quite a bit to speak at these conferences and talk to my colleagues and help evangelize a little bit, right? So, do I check email? No. Do I check my social networks? Yes. Every chance that I can. Because by them telling me what they're doing, what they're working on, by them being transparent, they allow me to be transparent by helping them back. And that eventually results in this huge amount of knowledge that is no longer trapped in devices like my computer, my iPad, or my iPhone, is no longer trapped in my inbox, is no longer trapped in my brain, is available to everyone at any time, at any place. Welcome to the Social Everywhere. Thank you.